One of the biggest noticeable updates in the Zelda OOT remake is the graphics. But there's one specific area in this game that has to change so dramatically, and almost nobody is discussing what that means for the rest of the remake. Welcome to NesMoji. Let's talk about that change and how it could affect the rest of the game. Let's talk about Hyrule Field. In 1998, Hyrule Field was a technical miracle. When you walked out of Kokiri Forest for the first time and that music kicked in, it felt enormous. It felt like the world was opening up in a way no Zelda game had done before. But here's what most people forget. Hyrule Field in the original OOT was not one seamless space. It was a hub of loading zones. Every area, Kakariko, Death Mountain, Lake Hylia, Gerudo Valley, was separated by a hard transition. The field itself was essentially a transport corridor between areas. Then there's the day and night cycle. 2.5 minutes of daytime, 1 minute and 20 seconds of night, 12 real-world seconds per in-game hour of daylight. That cannot work in a modern game, and what has to replace it changes everything. Here's the thing that almost nobody is talking about. If Nintendo removes those loading zones, and they have to because players in 2026 will not accept a black screen every time they cross a boundary, then Hyrule Field cannot just be reskinned. It has to be rebuilt from the ground up. Every transition that used to happen invisibly now has to make physical, geographic sense. So basically, what that means in practice is that the field almost certainly gets bigger. Not Breath of the Wild big. This is still OOT and the dungeons are the main event, but noticeably bigger. Related to this, and here's another one that barely gets discussed, the day-night cycle has to change completely. In the original game, time was tied to gameplay in a very arcade-style way because the N64 had no other option. On Switch 2 hardware, however, that constraint is gone. A proper day-night cycle means the field actually feels alive. Merchants move at different times, enemies spawn differently after dark, the atmosphere shifts in real time. This is not a small visual tweak, it is a fundamental change to how Hyrule Field functions, and it is going to ripple through every area connected to it. Let's talk about the Grottos, because this is where things get really interesting. In the original OOT, Grottos were basically one-room surprises. You drop through a hole in the ground in a suspicious patch of ground and you get a small room. Maybe there's a cow or a treasure chest. Quick, functional, a little underwhelming by today's standards. In the remake, there's a real opportunity to turn those grottos into proper mini dungeons. Not long ones, 2 or 3 rooms is sufficient. Brief but meaningful. Think for just a minute about the Hyrulean Civil War. That conflict ended right around the time Link was born. Battle axes, remnants, clues to that history. The grottos are the perfect hiding places for all of that. Give players a reason to actually seek them out, instead of stumbling across them by accident, and you have quietly added hours of exploration value without touching a single dungeon. This Hyrule Field change I think would be pretty cool to see. It has to do with the Peahat. In the original OOT, the Peahat was a field enemy. Dangerous when spinning, annoying to fight, easy to cheese once you know how. But the giant Peahat variant? That thing already looks like a boss. It's a massive spinning machine with blades and it deserves to have its own health bar. If Nintendo gives the Peahat a proper boss encounter, makes it optional, maybe blocks off a section of southern Hyrule Field that is currently just empty space, and rewards you with something meaningful for defeating it, that is one of the most exciting additions they could make without changing a single dungeon. The southern section of the original field map has almost nothing there. This would give players an actual reason to go. Lake Hylia has the exact same structural issue as Hyrule Field. A gorgeous space that is mostly empty in the original game. You grab Ruto's letter, you fish, you shoot the sun for fire arrows as an adult, the water temple is buried below it. That's pretty much your full Lake Hylia experience. But here's what changes when you remove loading zones and rebuild the geography. Lake Hylia becomes physically connected to the field in a way that makes the water real. Real water, real day-night cycle, real wildlife. There's so much potential here. Different fish, canoes, activities that actually justify spending time at the lake instead of just passing through it. The fishing is already one of the most beloved side activities in OOT. Imagine if the lake itself actually felt alive enough to support it. So here's the bigger picture, and this is the point worth making. When you look at all of these changes together, the expanded field, the rebuilt day-night cycle, Grottos as mini-dungeons, the Peahat as an overworld boss, a living Lake Hylia, these are not cosmetic updates. These are structural decisions that ripple through the entire game. Nintendo committing to seamless world transitions is a commitment to rebuilding how this world works at a fundamental level. That is why Hyrule Field matters more than the discussion around it suggests. It is not just the area between dungeons anymore. We know this remake is going to give us a fully explorable Hyrule Castle town with modern graphics for the first time in over 20 years. The Hyrule Field changes are just the beginning of what that ambition looks like. So there you have it, just like that. The Hyrule Field changes most people are skimming right past, but that tell us more about this remake than almost anything else we've seen. What is the single biggest missed opportunity in the original Hyrule Field that you want Nintendo to fix? Drop it in the comments. For more OOT remake coverage, take a look at all the other videos I've posted. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you haven't already. It really helps me out and I do appreciate it very much. I hope you all have a wonderful day.